Today we're going to talk about emergent literacy. So I'd like for you to take out a piece of paper and I'd like for you to write for 2 minutes on what you think emergent literacy means. And then when you're finished, write 2 questions that you have about emergent literacy. All right, I'm going to start my timer. You may begin. Okay, if you will go ahead and stop right now, wherever you are, and save your paper as we go through this video to see if you can answer questions or add to your notes. All right, so just to give you a background, there's been 2 perspectives on children's literacy development. You might have heard of the term reading readiness. It was popular in the 1960s and 70s, and it believed that children had to mature to a certain age before they were ready to read and write. And they had to have prerequisite skills, so being able to identify lines and then letters and then sounds, right? So very specific. They had to be ready before they were actually given a book to read or to actually be expected to write something. Well, now we have a different perspective and a lot of research on emergent literacy, which means that children are experiencing literacy from the minute they're born. So a definition comes from Mari Clay and others like Teal and Soulsby, who have talked about emergent literacy as reading and writing that begin very early in life. And that literacy learning occurs through observing and participating in real life experiences. So when we think about emergent literacy, we also think that reading and writing are concurrent and interrelated. So we don't always have to tease them out. Through active involvement with literacy, children are constantly constructing their understanding of how reading and writing work. And that although literacy occurs in stages and is developmental, it begins very early in a child's life. When we think about how literacy or reading and writing develop, we also have to think about these 4 areas of literacy development: speaking, reading, listening, and writing. So they're all happening at the same time. And today we're going to sort of tease out some of those areas. So Emergent literacy is really an integral part of learning. It's what we just take what's obvious because we're doing it. It's real life settings and it's functional. We're reading, we're looking at signs, we're writing notes, we're reading recipes. And although children may not be actively doing that, they're participating in it by being part of a family, by being part of a group. And those activities are culturally and socially driven. So, depending on your family, the culture, your background, these experiences will look very different. However, in a typical situation, you might have a shopping list. You might have a calendar, notes on the refrigerator. You might see people reading the newspaper or getting online and reading the internet or the news. And so all of these things are dependent on families and group practices. And remember, Camborne talked about immersion, demonstration, employment, responsibility, and approximation. So all of those take place within emergent literacy. There are different areas of emergent literacy, and we're going to talk about oral language today. But we have oral language and vocabulary, which is phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. We have alphabetic knowledge, concepts about books and words, and phonics, which is the relationship now between the visual letter and the sound. All right, so let's talk about oral language and phonological awareness. Phonological awareness is the understanding that spoken language is composed of parts, right? There are sentences, there are words, there are syllables, and there are individual sounds. Phonemic awareness looks at the spoken words specifically, and it says that spoken words are composed of sounds. So phonological awareness means that when we're listening or when children are listening to a person speak or they're speaking, they can separate words. So I am a teacher. 4 words. They can identify syllables within those spoken words. So when I say, I am a teacher, the word teacher has 2 syllables. And then I could look at rhyming segments. I am a teacher. Teacher doesn't rhyme with am, but if I said I am a man, then I could hear the rhyming parts. So, just to review phonological awareness, children can show awareness of words and language by clapping them, snapping them, counting them, stomping them, and jumping them. So, let's play. If I give you a sentence, I want you to count how many words are in my sentence. The coffee cup is on the desk. So, you should have counted 7 words in that sentence. So we want children to be able to develop that phonological awareness and practice hearing those sounds in isolation. The other thing that phonological awareness does is that we want children to be able to hear rhymes in language. So to be able to identify rhymes, which can be very fun and silly, to supply a rhyme. So man rhymes with ham, right? Or to create rhymes. I am Sam. Sam, I am, right? So to create those rhymes. Now, if we were to take phonemic awareness now brings the focus down to the word level. So phonemic awareness really is about hearing the sounds of words. For example, if we think of Old MacDonald had a farm, then we might think about those individual sounds in Old MacDonald.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had a cow, E-I-E-I-O. What does a cow say? Meow. Oink. Moo. With a moo moo here and a moo moo there. Here a moo, there a moo, everywhere a moo moo. Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O.
So there's an example. And when we get kids to play around with the sounds of words, then we can change those words with a moo moo here and a doo doo there, a lulu here and a lulu there. We begin to play with the beginning sounds of words. Another way to develop phonemic awareness is to blend sounds. So if you're happy and you know it, right? If you're happy and you know it, you can give kids the sounds of words and then they have to blend those together. So if I were to sing this song and then I said ba, at, then I would want children to be able to hear those individual sounds, pull them together and be able to say bat. Another thing that we want children to be able to do to develop phonemic awareness is to segment sounds, right? So if I say hi, then I would want students to be able to say I. That means to pull those sounds together or to stretch those sounds. So just to review, how does children show awareness of phonemes? And phonemes are individual sounds. So they can count individual sounds. For example, if you count the individual sounds in cut, k, t, how many sounds did you hear? K, t. You should have heard 3 sounds, right? Or 3 phonemes. Or I can actually delete sounds, right? So we want children to be able to delete sounds. So if I said the word cut and I said delete the t, then children could say k, ka. Okay, so this might remind you a little of Sesame Street, but it's this idea of deleting, blending, isolating sounds that children need to develop as they're in the world. There are many children's books that promote phonemic awareness and excellent read alouds. I'm sure you were thinking of Dr. Seuss. Any book by Dr. Seuss plays with the sounds of words, like There's a Walkin' in My Pocket, and other books that I have listed here. So let's just review. What phonemic awareness is not? It's not the same as being able to hear and talk, and it's not phonics instruction. Okay, so let's just review. Phonemic awareness and emergent literacy go together. It's one aspect of learning an emergent literacy. So activities that promote emergent literacy include exploring environmental print, right? And looking around, so engaging in reading and around you. Storybook reading, where we're playing with the sounds of language. Shared reading, while we might be sharing or singing together. Language experiences, where we're talking and writing down what we're talking. Literacy centers, and dramatic play and creative responses. So to conclude, what I'd like for you to do now is to, once this video is over, I'd like you to search the internet and find 2 activities that you could do with students to foster phonemic awareness in your classroom. I would then like you to search the internet and find 1 picture book that would foster phonemic awareness. And then your final thing is to search your Words Their Way book and find 2 word sorts that would help you foster phonemic awareness in your classroom. And here's a trick on that. When you do word sorts, they don't have to include printed letters. They could be pictures so that children are sorting the sounds of pictures. Okay. Finally, bring your activities, your word sorts, and the title of your book to class to share with your team. All right. If you have any questions, now's a good time to write them down or go back and see if you can answer any of your questions. All right. Thank you.